This is one-on-one session with the Forum IAS founder and director Ayush Sinha. In this session, students are asked questions to test their preparedness for the personality test. One-on-one sessions are not mock panel sessions.
Let us begin with a couple of questions. Ananya, can you begin by introducing yourself to me?
Yes, sir. Sir, I am Ananya Priya. I come from the Pearl City, Hyderabad of Telangana, and my native place is Warangal, the erstwhile capital city of Kakatiyas of Telangana. I pursued my graduation in architecture from Jawaharlal Nehru Arts and Architecture University in Hyderabad. Apart from architecture, I am also interested in
Ananya, बच्चा slow down. I have time for you. देखो बहुत आराम से very slowly we have to speak so that the board is able to follow us. There is no need of impatience, no need to hurry. Very आराम से. Sir, my name is Ananya. I am from Warangal. It was the city, है ना? And respect the commas and punctuation. Take a 2-second gap. Okay. You remember that instead of giving you this feedback at the end, let me just tell you right now and try doing that. Your objective is that if I am not fully listening to you, all right, if I'm not fully listening to you, if I'm distracted for 5 seconds like this and I'm looking around, and if I come back to you, I should not have missed the bus. If I miss the bus, you miss the bus. Okay. So tell me about yourself again.
Sir, I am Ananya Priya. I come from the Hyderabad. It's called the Pearl City. It's the capital city of Telangana. And my native place is Warangal, the erstwhile capital city of Kakatiyas of Telangana. I pursued my graduation in architecture from the Jawaharlal Nehru Fine Arts and Architecture University from Hyderabad. Apart from graduating in architecture, I'm also interested in learning violin, spending time with dogs, and also playing badminton. This is all about it.
What is the reason that Warangal has been called the cultural capital of Telangana?
Sir, firstly, it's called cultural capital because it has a long history of the cultural heritage, right since Kakatiyas, then Nizams, then the Golcondas. So apart from it is also the intermixture of North and South cultures because of the Mughals coming down to Deccan. So that's why it is regarded as the capital of culture. Sorry, I missed the bus. Sorry.
That's okay. You like to play violin. Where did this instrument originate?
Sir, violin originated in Britain, in Europe mostly.
What is the reason that violin is not such a popular instrument as compared to?
Sir, in India, maybe because it is not an Indian instrument and it is been integrating into the Indian classical music of late recently. And secondly, because of the price, the violin is a bit costly instrument rather than piano or keyboard, which usually children learn. So I think these two reasons mostly.
All right. You like to take care of dogs. Now let us imagine that you are living in a society which is having a lot of high rises. There has been so you are one of the people who feeds dogs, and you have championed the cause of stray dogs within the gated community, and you feel that they should be fed. What has happened is that one of the dogs has bitten a neighborhood child. Now the community is completely demanding that stray dogs, because it is a private community, therefore stray dogs must be thrown out of the gated community. Or you, if you're feeding the dogs, you should take responsibility for their actions. In such a case, what will be your course of action?
So, firstly, I would make sure the boy who got injured, he is under proper treatment. Secondly, I'll make sure that the dogs which I'm trying to feed are vaccinated and sterilized as well. Thirdly, I'll make sure to get common people who have common ideas in those apartments to come on a platform to make sure that we all are on the same page. Do not throw the dogs, but make sure that they have a space separately in the society.
But don't you think within private gated communities, stray dogs should not be allowed?
Sir, it depends upon the community, I guess. If there is a danger if they are not vaccinated or if they are very aggressive. So there can also be alternative like what we have done, like keeping them outside the compound wall and make sure they have a board to stay and food and water. So that will be secure to both the community people as well as the dogs.
Right. Ananya, you have you have a degree in architecture. So few days back when I went to a mall, all right, I found that the cinema halls were at the top floor of the mall. So what is the reason, thinking from an architecture perspective, what is the reason that they put the cinema halls and the food courts at the top?
So mostly people visit cinema halls and food courts. So commercial wise, they think if they go through all the other floors, they might be attracted to the shopping. So it will be viable for the complex as well as the cinemas as well.
Wonderful. Now think from architecture perspective and tell me. So this is an MBA perspective that
Okay.
seems to be higher. Now think from an architecture perspective and tell me why a cinema hall, if you were to design a mall, you would want the cinema hall to be on the top floor.
Sir, cinema hall requires a certain space. It requires more than one floor height. It requires a double floor height or even beyond that. So if it's put at the upper layers, I think it will have more space to build and certain elements to add as well, rather than at the lower levels.
It requires more space.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? A cinema hall has a specific requirement.
So the acoustics are, I think, as well, because the insulation from the sound also need to be done. So if it's in the upper layers, the sound will go up rather than coming down. So that might be the second reason also.
All right. So acoustics. There is one more reason from architecture perspective. Can you think of it, Sonia?
No, sir, I'm not able to recall anything.
A movie hall requires an open space without pillars. So if you were to construct a pillarless hall, the
Okay.
best place for it would be at the top floor.
Yes.
You know? What are the various green building codes or ratings that are available currently in India?
Sir, in India, uh, Kerry, along with Ministry of Renewable Energy, has launched Griha ratings for green buildings in India, and there is LEED, which is done by US, has come up as the rating. So sorry, sir, I'm unable to recall the name, but it has brought up its own green rating system in India as well.
Okay, so what is the problem with these green ratings? What is the criticism of these green ratings?
So the criticism of green ratings is firstly there is not much awareness about the green rating systems in
No,
India.
that is not the problem. There are buildings which are very fancifully getting green rating and a very good green
Okay.
rating. How we are able to get green rating without having made a lot of changes actually. So that is, there is something dubious that you will need to know about. Okay. Okay. Ananya, so in India also we are currently having buildings with glass facades and they are all shiny. So we are focusing on the aesthetics, trying to copy the West. But don't you think that we are creating hot gas chambers on Western lines and they are also not very energy efficient? So what is your opinion on this?
So glass is mostly adopted seeing the Western architecture, aesthetics as you said. It has been creating the problem of heat island in urban areas and the energy requirement of the buildings is increasing a lot. So they need more ACs, especially in the summer times. So the emissions are also increasing because of the glass. So it is not a solution to the green buildings or sustainable architecture which we are thinking for the future.
Okay, but when I spoke to an architecture person, they said that the glasses that they are using are highly reflective in nature and do not absorb heat like concrete. So therefore, they are better. So what is your opinion? What is your counter argument to this?
So not all glasses come under cool panels or cool walls as they said. There are certain glasses which absorb high amount of energy as well and some reflect it. So it depends upon the glazing of the glass and the thickness of the glass that they're using.
All right, but if we use a very good glazing and thickness, are we able to do a better job at insulation?
But no, sir, it just reduces the amount of emissions, but we also need proper ventilation as well. That will be coming under passive cooling and heating. So if we completely insulate by putting glass, we'll not be able to adopt to this environment.
Hmm. All right. Ananya, why do you want to join civil services?
So, firstly, I always wanted to be in civil services because I saw my mother. She worked with several district collectors. So, they inspired me towards working for the society. So that's why I pursued my graduation and then I resumed my dream of civil service.
What, tell me three qualities of yours that you think will make you a good administrator?
Sir, in order to be an effective civil servant, it requires both attitudes and aptitude as well. So I think I have patience, good communication skills, and when it comes to aptitude, I have better analysis, decision making by balancing idealism and realism. So in my view, these qualities will help me in becoming an efficient civil servant.
All right. So, Ananya, you said that you have good analytical and decision making skills. Imagine that you are leading a troop of soldiers in an open jeep. The jeep has been surrounded by hostile locals. You have gone there to arrest a certain person with whom the locals have sympathy. Your soldiers are carrying lethal weapons such as an AK-47, while the locals are carrying stones, which they, if given the number of locals, if they pelt it on the patrolling party, it is likely that it will lead to loss of life. There is no other option for you but to save your. So your primary concern is also that if the mob pelts stones or tries to snatch weapons of your men, it is likely that to save their life, at least one of them may open fire, killing civilians, which who in retaliation may kill all the armed gunmen that are with you. One suggestion that comes to your mind is to tie the local criminal with whom the locals have a sympathy on the bonnet, on your car bonnet, and have a gun pointed at him and use him as a human shield. Now, you are aware that this is illegal and a punishable offense. At the same time, you are also aware that if you do not do this, there is a bigger loss to life. How will you handle this situation?
Sir, assessing from the whole case, it's clear that anything done will be harmful both for the public as well as the forces. So that needs to be addressed. So even it's illegal or even if we are going to be punished for tying him onto the bonnet, it is the necessary option that we should employ because the public have to be safe and even the forces have to get out from there safely. So then after that the required procedure of the law will be followed. So,
Yes, yes, please come again once. What will you do?
sir, assessing the whole situation, I said it's harmful for both the public as well as the forces if we do not do anything to stop this violence. So, it is necessary to put that person on the bonnet in order to protect both the sides and then follow the procedure of the law if there's any punishment for doing that. It would prevent loss of life of both sides.
All right. Ananya, do you think there is what do you think is a bigger challenge in India, political corruption or administrative corruption?
Sir, corruption itself is a bigger challenge. It does not differentiate between political or administrative. So that root cause has to be addressed, not just the partitions of it.
No, but which is a bigger challenge? Do you see any of them as a much bigger challenge?
Sir, I think both are equally challenged.
How do you differentiate? How does the ill effects of political corruption differ from the ill effects of administrative corruption?
Sir, political corruption does not have a direct impact on public, as said, because it deals mostly with the crony capitalism, how they get funds from the private bodies, or how there is no transparency in funding. But when it comes to the executive corruption, it directly impacts the public because there is no access to services. There is poor quality of services delivered to them. So it differs mostly in the direct and indirect impact.
All right. I have one last question for you, Ananya. Can you tell me some 3 or 4 criticisms of green architecture in which you have also received certain prizes?
Sir, the first criticism is there is lack of experts or there is lack of skilled manpower in that area because it requires about 90,000 or lakh as per said a newspaper reported. But the
I'm not talking about that. The concept of green architecture.
okay, yes sir.
Tell me
Sir,
just 2 criticisms.
so firstly, green architecture is about being environment friendly. So it focuses only on environment rather than focusing upon the other aspects such as cost, people, all these things as well. That's the first criticism it faces. Second, everything is not green under green architecture because it also has certain emissions leading to it because when it comes to renewable energy, it is also certain uh, issues it has. So I think these are the two major criticisms of green architecture.
Thank you, Ananya. Your interview is over.
Okay.